I would say for sure for a long point of my life, I really looked up to Dave Grohl in terms of his musicianship and ability to play all the instruments in a rock band. And so that's what really inspired me to get better at the drums and just be able to play all the instruments proficiently.
Welcome back to Foos Files, the podcast for fans of the Foo Fighters. Hope you're all doing well. I'm Dan, your host and producer, and we've got another interview episode this week. I'm actually recording this a few days early. We normally, as you know, release episodes on a Wednesday, but I'm recording this before the weekend as I'm away on holiday. And the reason I mention this is that towards the end of last week, the Foo Fighters' 30th anniversary stuff seems to have sprung into action on the official channels. The band changed their Facebook cover to a plain black graphic with the words "Established 1995" on. Then they launched a Substack account too and have been sharing lots of archive footage from the early days, such as the "I'll Stick Around" video and some early concert clips too. So I was a bit like, where have you been, guys? Some of us have been doing FF30 content for weeks now. But anyway, the hype train, it seems, is in motion again, and the hope also that some announcements might be on the way. Nothing had emerged at the time that I was recording this, so let's hope they're kind enough to hold on until I'm back from holiday next week so that I don't miss anything here on the podcast. Anyway, on to this week's episode. I'm joined by Carter Brady, an emerging singer-songwriter from New York City, who this week is releasing something very special. He's recorded a version of Everlong, putting his own twist on it, but there are a couple of other connections to the Foo Fighters here, in that Carter's version of Everlong features the cellist Lori Goldston, who played with Nirvana on the famous MTV Unplugged show, and on the In Utero tour too. So she's of course someone who will be well known to Dave Grohl and to Pat Smear. And another interesting development in Carter's career is that he's currently taking drum lessons with Will Goldsmith, who, as you know, is the first official drummer in the Foo Fighters lineup. So there was plenty to dig into there. So without further ado, welcome to the Foos Files podcast, Carter Brady. Carter, how you doing? It's great to have you on the Foos Files podcast.
Yeah, great, Dan. Thank you so much again for having me. Really appreciate it. This is awesome. No, I reached out to you and just wanted to make it happen, and great to be on Foos Files. This is sick.
Yeah, not everyone will be able to see, but you've got your t-shirt, Foos t-shirt on as well, which is great. So, yeah.
Yes. Had to represent, come prepared. I've got a lot of Foos shirts. So I was like, this is probably my favorite one. Haven't worn it in a while. So yeah, here we are.
Excellent. And at the time of recording this, you're about to release something very special that I know Foo Fighters fans are going to love. So do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually releasing an acoustic cover, a bit more melancholic, dark kind of vibe of Everlong. And so I would say it's probably my favorite song by theirs. That's coming out next Thursday. It actually features Lori Goldston, who played with Nirvana during the In Utero tour in 93-94 and was on the iconic MTV Unplugged album. Literally just reached out to her on Instagram. Like I did with you, Dan, I just reached out, very friendly note. What's the worst I could say is no. She responded about a year and a half ago and said she'd do it. She doesn't usually take requests, but was very lucky that she did respond and say yes to it. So I just literally sent over the project to her, and she recorded 3 takes. And then my producer, Joe, I worked with on a previous record, just a little bit of comping. And then it's really just my guitar arrangements, vocals, and her cello on it. So I'm really excited about it. It's coming out next Thursday. It's something I really didn't think I'd ever do or release, but I do feel like I got to a point where I was like, I know the song backwards and forwards. I finally felt like my voice sounded good enough for it. And I will be honest, I really have tried to like mimic myself and sound as close to like 1997 Dave Grohl as I can, without being him and like being too derivative, like echoing sort. I still want to sound like myself, but I do just love his vocal tone. And so, for those of you out there that are listening, definitely expect something close to the vibe of Dave's original. That's just him on the greatest hits, but also something a bit more with my slightly different guitar arrangements that you'll hear, and just kind of find a new, refreshing thing from it. So,
Great. So where did the idea for the cello come from?
yeah, I think part of it was just like knowing that so basically what I did for Guitar People, I tuned I played this version of the song a half step up. So I put a capo on the first fret and I started playing it and I was like, wow, this really sounds like, cause you know how much a key change can really change the mood of a song. I was like, wow, this really sounds, Everlong's already a very kind of like emotional, dark, like nostalgic feeling, but changing it from that Sonic Youth vibe, just making it a half step up, it was like, wow, this is really kind of Nirvana sounding. Like this almost sounds like it could have been on Unplugged. And I'm like, I thought, well, cello is such a big part of their later stuff and the MTV Unplugged album. So I was like, it would be awesome to get some cello on here. Because I did always think it would just be guitar and vocals. I wasn't going to go do the bossa nova thing that they did in '99 on that, like, I forget what that Dutch live session series. So I was like, I'm going to keep it like this arrangement. But I reached out to Lori because of that. I was like, it would be really cool to have the cello. And I just could hear it every time I go back to it. I was like, this needs something. And so eventually I was like, it would be cool, Nirvana vibe, have cello on there, because it almost makes it sound like the Nirvana version, but still with a Dave Grohl like vocal. So that's where it came from, I'd say. But yeah, I'm excited for you guys to hear it.
Awesome. So did you talk through it much with Laurie, or did you just go, right, here's the song, here's the project, do your thing?
Yeah. So funny enough, I had her play on a song before this off my album Shopping Cart called Invincible that I wrote a part for her for, because I had played, I'm not a full on producer, but I played a part on Logic Pro on my DAW on my computer about 2 years ago when I recorded this song. And it was very Nirvana, like Foo Fighters sounding. And I was like, let me get her for this one. And so she played it. It was even more simple, literally mimic the part I had on the synth, 3 notes in 3 choruses. She did it done. That first time I did sort of the same thing when I reached out, like, I sent her all the materials in like a we transfer folder. Like, here's the lead sheet, here's the isolated synth part. Like, I made it very easy for her given we were working remotely. So I did the same thing for Everlong. I reached out to her a few months later and was like, hey, I've got this acoustic cover of Everlong. And you never know how she's going to react to that, because it's like, she was in Nirvana and has the connection, but you never know. Maybe she doesn't want to be associated with that. I had no idea at the time. But of course, now, as you know, it's like she was clearly very excited about it. And I'm very fortunate she was open-minded to trying it out. But the Everlong was carried about the same way. I just reached out to her on Instagram DMs, and she basically, just said yes, sent her the materials, and then she just sent back the takes, and I paid her for it, and I let her know it's coming out. She of course said huge congrats again. I'll definitely share the video with her and everything, but yeah, it was pretty simple, I'd say. Just tried to be respectful and friendly, and just that was it.
Yeah, brilliant. And in the spirit of kind of late 90s Foo Fighters, I gather you've got a 90s inspired video to go with it, which sounds really cool too.
Oh yeah, yes, I do. So it's not like super complex in terms of like, it's not David Letterman's last show where like they show all the B-roll, and Foo obviously was on for that, and they played Everlong. I don't know how, you might know how many times they played Everlong on that show. It was probably like 5 or 6 or something. I know each of the performances, but that last one in 2015, they rolled this really nostalgic, B-roll section, and my producer who did Everlong, he was like, you got to do something like this. And I'm like, if I had the budget for it, I would, Joe, but I don't know if I can, maybe on a future video. But I did really lean into the 90s vibe. My friend Kyle, who I've worked on a bunch of videos with, we literally just went to a park right outside my hometown, which borders New York City. So we went to the Bronx this park basically overlooking a lake. And so I literally just envisioned, I told him, hey, what if we did a video of me playing the song, sitting down on a couch, or sorry, on a bench, and just playing it acoustic vocal. But since there's so many guitar parts, maybe throw on the side bench me playing those parts as a clone double. So you'll see that, which I thought was kind of cool. And then the whole first part is still cam, no handheld. But then halfway through it kicks in. And then the cool thing that I really think makes it 90s more than anything is that we ran it through a VHS tape machine. One of Kyle's friends got someone to do it. And so when you see the video, it was filmed in 4K, but you're going to be like, wow, this looks like it was filmed in 1997. So I think that's what really makes the video special is the sound is going to really connect with the video. And as you know, video is so important these days visually. People are so visual in terms of how they consume music. So, it'll be on the Spotify Canva, but I think the music video really will allow people to really take in the song and get the full experience from it. So
that's amazing, because you often hear about artists, they'll run their audio track through like an old tape machine or an old board or something to get that retro effect, but you don't often hear about it with a video, do you?
No. I've recently been working with some people that we've experimented running things through like a tape machine or a 4-track or an 8-track for little parts. Because as you know, when you do lo-fi in a song, anything that comes after it, as I've since learned and really start to beat the drum for, is like it's going to sound massive and even bigger. And so I haven't done that in everything, but there are some parts of Everlong, my version that I'm releasing, that you do hear that. For example, in the breakdown, I did do what you hear in the beginning, da, 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 the holdout chords, even though like Dave was literally just doing the one rhythm in his version. I was like, I want to make it interesting and different. So I was like, something people haven't slightly heard before in that way. And so I did that. Like I played the part, and then my first guitar ever, which is this beaten up thing from 20 years ago, like basically a kid size classical, nylon string that buzzes, it kind of has this buzzing noise. But I basically just played those chords, and then Joe, my producer, mixed it in a way where it's like, it really fits well. So I think the tape thing is really cool. A lot of people lean into that these days in the modern 90s, like revival, nostalgic sound, which there's a huge scene for it, which I'm fortunate to be somewhat involved in a little bit in New York and with the people I work with. But people got to keep trying it out. It's cool.
Yeah, I was going to mention, because that 90s rock, has quite a big influence on you, doesn't it? I've not only listened to some of your songs, but also the clips that you put on Instagram where you're kind of noodling around with parts of songs that you're quite explicit about, saying this is Nirvana or Foos or Smashing Pumpkins or even Oasis inspired too, that you were doing the other day.
Yeah, that was definitely a recent thing. Like I've been making content pretty seriously for a while, but like only in the last 8 months have I finally just thrown in the towel and say, all right, I don't care how cringy sometimes it might be. I'm going to put stuff out, whether, it is a thing or not. And you just have to, as you know, trial and error. And yes, I've been putting out a lot of just clips of unfinished demos, which a lot of times recently I'll sit down. It could be something that already came out and I pretend it hasn't. As people, this is just something people do these days. And like you say, hey, I got this little thing, like put an overlay text over it that you think makes sense. And I've been strategically doing that as a marketer. I work full time in advertising and at a media agency and have some degrees in marketing. So that's something like I'm no expert. I'm learning like everyone else because the industry is changing, but I'm fortunate because that's something like I'm keeping in mind. Like it's good to strategically lead in the Nirvana fans if you overlay text like that, or the Foo Smashing Oasis fans, because I have this big release. So if you get people from those audiences to come to your page, then when you introduce this Everlong video, which in the next week or two, I'm just going to only post Everlong clips with the audio and just change it up and whatever I can do to market it as best I can without being in your face about it. Obviously, like it's all about how you can make it universal and not come off as like snobby and just like make it like something very taking in is easy for them. And so, yeah, I do love the demo things though. I mean, I recently had someone on YouTube, which I've done pretty well on YouTube Shorts. Like, it's weird because the algorithms are so different across platforms, as I'm sure you're familiar. Like Instagram and TikTok have a different algorithm than Shorts. So you could post the same video on one platform and one gets 13,000 views and the other gets like 700. So it's hard to know. But like I said at the beginning, trial and error is like a big thing. So, I've been doing that, and someone was like, you shouldn't be posting these demos. Like, someone's going to steal it. And I'm like, well, it's nice people are looking out, but at the same time, like, it's a, cost and benefit thing. Like, it's, for me, it's working. Like, as of now, like, I'm getting pretty good engagement from it. And a lot of these ideas are not fleshed out. Like, I have a lot I haven't shared on purpose, that I'm mindful of not getting out there before it's released, of course. But some of those videos are very just like, I'll just put it together on the spot. And it could just be a chord progression, and they're like, it sounds like Heart Shaped Box or something like that, or it sounds like this. So I leave it. I think it's a cool way to get the audience members engaged and feel like they're a part of the process, because they might be like, make a song. If you said in the overlay, like, should I make this a song? So it's really fun, honestly. I found ways to not let it drain me in the social media. It's all about how you approach it and have a positive attitude. I think that's really important for musicians in this day and age, like myself, who are indie, not on a label, doing this alongside a full job. So it's definitely something. It's all about the attitude, and just keep going. Don't stop.
Absolutely right. You mentioned you have got an album out too, Shopping Cart. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, and how much of a departure is the Everlong cover from the stuff that you write yourself and record? I mean, I know you play with a band for starters, whereas the Everlong cover is obviously mostly you. But so, do you want to tell us about the album?
Yeah, sure. So Shopping Cart's my like second official album that I released last June. Just had the 1 year anniversary on the 14th. It's definitely, yeah, to answer your question, it's definitely going to have a lot of connections to what was on the album, the Everlong cover, which I did kind of strategically too. I was like, it's a great way, because as you know how important covers are to increase your audience and your fan base, because people are a little more open to adding something like a cover to their listening rotation because they're familiar with it. They know they like Everlong by Foo Fighters. It's got over 1 billion streams on Spotify. So I think that was something where I knew when I put this out, when I promote it, it doesn't mean people are going to automatically listen to Shopping Cart, but I know that when people, oversee my body of work that I've put out to date, they'll say, okay, these songs, I can see where his influences are. It might not only be Foo Fighters, but it's very heavy Foo Fighters. And this makes sense that he's releasing an acoustic cover of Everlong for sure. And I do actually have a full rock album version that I'm doing close to verbatim with my band that's coming out shortly after next month on a 4-song live session EP. And we did do the whisper static thing in the bridge, which, don't worry, it's not corny. We do it our own way. As you know, you can barely hear what Dave's saying in the original. I don't know if you've seen the Produce Like a Pro video, but I was obsessed with that when it came out in like 2019, where he like gets the ISO stems and he goes with Bradley Cook, who was the engineer on those sessions at Grandmaster. So like we didn't copy it because we did different text. I just came up with something on the spot. And as you can see, I'm a solo artist. So I do have a band. I would say the closest thing you could associate me with branding and stuff is Mac DeMarco, because he is a solo artist. That's his name, but he plays mostly all the instruments, and then has a full band that fronts him at shows. So that's what I'm doing right now. And so with that said, I really market the Shopping Cart record, for example, is all like about, the concept of like grocery stores. There's a song in the album called Grocery Store. That's kind of a Strokes Smiths vibe. And so it's all about like putting songs into a shopping cart, and all these songs are different. As you know, when you go to the grocery store, every item you're going to pick is going to be different. And so that's sort of the approach. I wanted an album that was cohesive, but at the same time shows so many of my influences, and that I'm a fan of music at the end of the day. I want it to be new and refreshing. But I know where a lot of the things are coming from, and they are familiar places. So, I'm not snobby about that. I know I'm just a huge fan of music that's still trying to put out something new. And so, yeah, the Everlong breakdown thing was like, I don't want to give too much away, but it has some connection to the grocery store stuff. So, yeah, excited to release that as well. But Everlong acoustic, very much connected to everything that I've released to date, particularly Shopping Cart.
Awesome. We were talking before we started recording about the little short film on YouTube about the launch show that you did at the Barry Electric, which is quite a famous, really cool little venue down in the East Village.
Yeah. No, it's a great spot. I know we were chatting, and Jesse there, so that's really cool. I have some connections to the people there just from that's definitely the place I've probably played the most since breaking into the New York indie rock scene in like September 2022 with my band that I still have to this day. Yeah, it's such a great venue. I'd probably say it's my favorite for those listening that have been or haven't been and are just looking for new venues to go to in New York City when they're visiting or if they live in New York City. I just think it's got great acoustics and it is very intimate, but also definitely big enough where if you get like 100 people, it's going to look like super packed, which I think is great for me too, because I'm still building my fan base. So it's like if you can get that many people to your show, it's going to look like sold out, and it's just a great vibe. I really love that, and you get people so close to the stage. And there have been really big artists that have performed there. I know Billy Joe Armstrong. I'm also a huge Green Day fan just growing up. Like his side band, I believe, performed there maybe like 10 years ago or something. So like it's and he's not the only one. There's a lot of people over the years, but great spot. Yeah, it's in the Heart East Village, which obviously I lived in East Village before where I live now. So it's a great area. But yeah, you said you had been there as well, which is really funny.
Yeah, as you alluded to, there's a singer-songwriter from New York that I've followed for years called Jesse Malin, who not only is he a great singer and songwriter, he's worked with some amazing people like Bruce Springsteen, Ryan Adams, Billy Joe Armstrong, as you mentioned. But he's also got a side career as a bar owner, and he certainly used to co-own that one. I don't know if he still does, and also Niagara, which was another place we discussed out on Avenue A. But as someone from the UK who's deeply into indie and rock music, that whole East Village area, it's just there's something mystical about it because of all the great bands that have played and come from that area. And obviously CBGB's used to be, when that was there, it was kind of in the same area. So you just read about all these great bands that have played in that part of town. It's kind of a bit like Liverpool is over here in the UK because of the Beatles and all the bands that came from Liverpool. So it's got that same,
Oh yeah.
as a Brit, it's got that same sort of mystical feeling about it, if you get what I'm saying.
Oh, 100%. No, as soon as the first time I ever went to Bower Electric in 2022, I immediately thought, which I can't say for sure because I've never visited Liverpool. I've only been to London. It reminded me of the Cavern Club like right away. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is like, I'm sure you were thinking that too when you first went. It's like, it's so similar, at least from the pictures and the videos I've seen, because I've seen a lot of Beatle documentaries, and it just the space and the brick walls on the side, it just seemed really kind of old building, old school kind of thing, which is really, it's cool because you're right. I think that's a great comparison. I think definitely the New York indie music scene, it's well known because it's New York and it's competitive, but it doesn't get maybe talked about as much as it could, because I really do think rock music is still alive, whether people want to say it isn't or not. Because like obviously like pop is still at the top of the charts, but there is so much great rock music out there. And not only that, there's just so many bands performing in the local scene, whether it be Bower Electric or, other places in Manhattan. I've also played at places like Arlene's Grocery, where the Strokes first got famous. I mean, Lady Gaga used to perform in New York City all the time under her own name, basically at the time. Obviously the 60s, Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, all those people performed at like the bitter end, which I have played a couple gigs at Mercury Lounge, also another place. That's where I have my show next Thursday, solo acoustic, which I did do a Shopping Cart early album release there 2 years ago with my band. Great venue. I'd probably say in terms of acoustics and at least recording quality, that's probably the most like official proper one. But there's so many great spots, and Brooklyn's got so much too. So it's a really great scene. Would be cool to make it over to the UK though at some point. I don't know when that will happen, but maybe one day. That'd be fun.
Well, I'll keep my eye out for that, definitely. So hopefully one day, yeah. Should we talk about your love of the Foo Fighters then and where that started?
Yeah, let's do it. I want to talk Foo Fighters. Let's do it.
So go for it then. Can you remember the first experience of listening to them, discovering them, becoming a fan?
Yeah. So I think I want to say it was like fourth or fifth grade. I was I grew up. I'm born in 1998. I'm 27 now. The way I consume music at the beginning, I still had a little bit of in the car stuff where like I'd be with my parents with CDs, the radio. But I'd say the way I discovered Foo Fighters was literally on Apple Music or iTunes rather, where like I must have purchased their music video of Wheels or something like that. I don't remember exactly which song I heard for the first time. And of course, my perception of them at the time, anybody's changes over time. It was so different. I was like, oh, who's this band? Like, oh, it just kind of seems like they, they're like this or that. So they did. I saw their music videos, and I've been in love with music videos for so long. But I think that's really what brought me in, is just like seeing all their really cool music videos, which, as you know, that's what they're known for, of being funny, but just doing so much of that, which I've also made it a point to do myself. And so seeing all those music videos just really brought me into them. And I just stuck with it ever since. And obviously all the other bands too around that, Nirvana, but Foo Fighters in particular, I would say I'm definitely a diehard fan, particularly adore and cherish their first three records the most, but I do love all their other stuff as well. I know everything, but particularly the self-titled and The Color and the Shape and There's Nothing Left to Lose are like staples for me that I could just listen to front to back so much. And I've had to take breaks because, as you can imagine, even the biggest fans have to step away for a while. But it's just been great to be a fan of them. And I would say for sure, for a long point of my life, I really looked up to Dave Grohl in terms of his musicianship and ability to play all the instruments in a rock band. And so that's what really inspired me to get better at the drums and just be able to play all the instruments proficiently. I've still got a long way to go with the drums, but at the same time, I did play all the instruments on 4 songs in my last record. So like I'm getting there. And so that's just a fun thing. Really have just loved their music for so long. And there's so much great stuff. I really think, they're so innovative within the rock genre and the post grunge, if you want to call it that, the post grunge era of rock in the 90s. So.
Excellent. You've just given me a perfect segue to ask you about. You've got quite an interesting drum teacher, haven't you?
Yeah, so I'm actually taking drum lessons from ex-Foo Fighter William Goldsmith, who now is tearing it up with Sunny Day Real Estate. And so another example of just reaching out on Instagram and like, you never know what your path might take you, and just you never know what people are going to say. I reached out to William, I want to say it was 2021. And I think I sent a song from my album Blue Reverb, Chasing Vampires, to him, or one of those songs. And he was like, oh, like, great song, like really well crafted arrangements. And I think I just asked him if he wanted to chat music or something. And we stayed in touch for a while. And then finally I was like, I saw that he put like drum consultation on his bio. And he did. I think he followed me too. I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And I'm also a big Sunny Day fan, and on all the stuff he's done, like his drumming is just incredible. And so like, I just have really, followed him in all the stuff that he's done for so long. And so Foo Fighters obviously is one of the big ones, but he actually got me to go see his Sunny Day band. They were performing at Irving Plaza last May, and he got me VIP seats. So my dad and I went. That was pretty cool. Got to meet him in person. But right now, yeah, we're on and off for the past year, taking lessons just in my family music room where I make most of my music still. And so, yeah, he has been teaching me just over Zoom. Like we'll do like 30-minute hour lessons. Doesn't charge anything crazy. He's very, very reasonable and just such a nice guy. Like he really is so genuine and so great to work with, and just such a great person, human being. And he's got younger kids, like sometimes they'll pop into the lesson, and so that's like fun. But yeah, you can just tell he loves music, and obviously is continuing to do his thing, and that's what he's doing for work, and he's killing it with Sunny Day. As I said, I mean, they're getting these festivals and so many great tours they've done in the last few years. So hopefully we get some new music from them too. But yeah, it's been really fun to work with him.
Brilliant. I mean, I don't want to betray any confidence or anything, but do you get to chat to him about Foo Fighters and his career and stuff like that?
I will be honest, I haven't gone down that road just given, I think like just, given the history and whatnot, but I haven't had to because he's brought it up like a couple times here and there in not any way that's like, sounds like a certain way. I think first off, also on social media, like he follows Foo Fighters, he follows Dave. Like I think people don't realize, or people do, but people don't realize enough. He's in a very good mindset about the situation, and it's not my place to talk about it. So I try not to bring it up ever because there's no reason to. Like I really am just taking drum lessons with him because I want to take drum lessons from a 90s great, and he is one of them. He's incredible and has his own sound. So yeah, I wish I could say more, but I am still, of course, rooting for them to ask him to perform in a show at some point. That would be amazing because I really think he left such a great mark, and I hope he knows that on their legacy, and they wouldn't be where they are without him. His first 2.5 years with the band were so monumental. Even though he was performing songs that Dave wrote, he had to have had a part of the Color and the Shape drum parts to some extent. I have no idea. Obviously there's all these conspiracies and speculations, but it's undoubtable how much he left on that band, and I think he realizes that. So yeah, no, I don't go there with him. He's brought it up here and there, but it does sound like he's open to talking with Dave. Obviously, it's just a matter of having that happen, and I'm hopeful, and I think one day that they will talk again and somehow make a reunion happen. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and you know what? He's in the back and forth documentary and he says his piece and he's honest, but he didn't have to do the documentary at the end of the day. If he really had a cross to bear, he could have just said, no, why would I want to come on a Foo Fighters documentary and talk about the Foo Fighters? So, yeah, he's obviously a very gracious, good guy. So let's leave it at that. Yeah.
100%. He is.
Yeah. Awesome. So you got the Everlong release, got a launch show, which I'm going to ask you about shortly. What else is on the agenda for you and your music over the coming months?
Yeah, so I mentioned briefly, I have a 4-song live session EP that's coming out hopefully later in July. I'm spacing out the releases a little bit so that they don't overlap too much, just given I have this Everlong acoustic cover coming out. So really excited about that. That's still getting mixed and mastered as we speak. My drummer, Sam, in my live band, and also played on a lot of Shopping Cart, he produced that record and is producing this EP as well. So stay tuned there. But that's something I'm excited about. And then one other thing too, I do have a lot of albums worth of material. Like I'm actually working on multiple records at once, which sounds crazy. How do you have the time? How do you have the money? I'm doing what I can to space it out, but I'm a songwriter at heart, and that's something the last few years I've really leaned into more than anything. Even though I was always just a guitarist, my voice I never felt was good enough to really front a band. I started taking lessons. It's at a point where I'm happy with it enough where I can record myself and be proud and confident enough to do these releases. And so, yeah, I actually also have made it a point, knowing how much people love covers, as you know, I'm releasing one now, to try out these grungy rock renditions of popular songs. And so after this 4-song EP I'm releasing, an Everlong, I'm actually going to be releasing a rock cover of Taylor Swift's August, which is kind of crazy because it's like, I can't say I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan, but I really respect her music, and a lot of her music, in my opinion, at least, they're still great, amazing songs. They're big for a reason. And this one in particular, I was like, wow, I actually could see this being like a cool rock arrangement that you just build slowly over time. And so in anything you do, you find a way to really enjoy what you're working on. And so given it's a rock cover and you kind of have the reign to kind of do what you want with it and make it your own, like I had a lot of fun working on it. And so I actually just passed it over to one of my friends who I did another cover with about a year ago. She's going to be mixing it, laying down some harmony vocals over the choruses, which will sound great. And then Sam's going to play drums on it, my drummer. So really excited about that one. And then I have a ton of other covers too. Who knows when they'll come out? I'm thinking about getting a Patreon just to like post some of them and be like, hey, what should I release next? Because it's not to sound like arrogant. I'm at that point where I've got so much material. I don't know what to focus on or put out next. I mentioned a few off the bat, but I really want to put out as much. I think that's in my bio, like put out as much rock music as humanly possible. And I really mean that. Like I want to take this moment in my life to really, just go all in on it. And as you know, like quality over quantity, but at the same time, if you're happy and proud of the work you're putting out, like there's no reason you can't put out as much as you want to. So that's where I'm at. So who knows when the albums will come out, but I definitely have several in the works. And so some are B-side records, some are just full new releases following Shopping Cart. Another one is like just I'm working with a new producer, so I'm going by an alias, which will be like branded as a band. I'm calling Vibe Slide, and so I'll still release it under Carter Brady on Spotify, so it's all connected. But I really am just I'm really excited about the future coming up. So got a lot in the works.
Well, that's awesome. And you said it sounds crazy, but do you know what? You've got to do these things while it's there, haven't you?
Of course,
you can't,
you do.
You can't stall it and bottle it up for another day, can you? As an artist, you've got to while the songs are there, keep making them.
Exactly. Yeah, you do. I mean, it's just don't second guess yourself. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned in the last few years is don't second guess yourself. Just be very spontaneous. There's never going to be a right or wrong answer for how you could write this chorus or this verse or this melody. There's so many combinations, and I found that like just go with the one in that very moment you think makes the most sense. And it doesn't mean you can't change it later, but I come across plenty of people that don't release anything and hold on to it for a while and never put anything out. And like anyone's entitled to how they want to approach music, and music means something to them differently. They might just find fulfillment in doing that. And that's totally cool. Like no sweat. I mean, I'm just a bit different myself. I am, as you can tell, a marketing mind, but like I do it because I love it. I would not still be doing this if I didn't love it, because I can't say I have like a million streams on Spotify, but that's fine because I really just want to put stuff out, whether it does get that many or not. And you do the best you can to put yourself in a good position. And that's the best you can do. I think, especially I'm 27 right now. Sort of like, I don't want to say there's no actual prime years. I know everyone's, oh, when's your prime for music? It's different than like an athlete, because like you're not, obviously, like your body's not wearing down. It's a matter of your creativity. When does that go away? It's never going to go away. But at the same time, I have the time in my job I'm currently working in to do this. What I'm doing is like basically work two full-time jobs, music, and then, ad agency currently. So it's just something you really just have to manage your time as best you can. And I'm very lucky that I'm able to do both right now. And so, yeah, you just take advantage of that and roll with it.
Yeah, well, it's awesome. You're clearly like in a moment and you've got momentum going. So just keep going. And yeah, but before we go then, you mentioned Thursday, 26th of June. Anyone in the New York area, you've got a launch show for the track. Do you want to give us a quick plug for that?
Yeah, definitely. So anyone in the New York area, definitely come down to my solo acoustic single release show for Everlong at Mercury Lounge. It's a bit on the earlier side. I got an early slot, 6:30. So I understand if you got work, but definitely want you to make it out if you can. It's going to be really fun and intimate. It'll be a great hang. I'll be playing mostly stuff off of Shopping Cart, and then I'll probably play Everlong last, just given it's the big single release. It'll be out that day. So I think it's just a great way to be a plug for the song, for you to go listen to it. But you also get to hear it live in a bit more of a stripped down version, just guitar vocal. So that'll be really fun. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't played Mercury since I think August 2023. So it's been a while. And they asked me to be part of this bill with someone else that's also, I think, like a solo artist. So it worked out great. So yeah, definitely come out if you can.
Awesome. Well, best of luck with the song and the video. Can't wait to listen to and to watch. And it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Of course, Dan. Thank you again for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks to Carter for talking to us about his music and his Foo Fighters connections too. And good luck to him with his Everlong cover and the music video. You'll be able to check those out from Thursday, the 26th of June. And once again, thank you for listening to Foos Files. If you're enjoying the show, then please help us out by leaving a 5-star rating and a review on your favourite listening app. In the meantime, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.